You're watching CW Montana. This is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and welcome to the MTN statewide 9 o'clock news. I'm Jay Kohn, and here's what's topping headlines across Montana tonight. Senator Jon Tester in Great Falls this evening. Vice President Mike Pence in Kalispell this afternoon. Yes, the campaigns are going right down to the wire. Also tonight, an update for you on an officer-involved shooting that occurred near downtown Billings on Sunday. But first, more than 300,000 Montanans have already cast their votes in Tuesday's midterm election. Yet tens of thousands more will and can vote before the polls close on Election Day. Our chief political reporter Mike Dennison tonight gives us the lowdown on last day voting and registration.
It's finally here, Election Day 2018, and election officials in Montana are expecting a much bigger than average turnout for a midterm election. The top races on the ticket are Montana's U.S. Senate race between Democratic incumbent Jon Tester, Republican Matt Rosendale, and Libertarian Rick Breckenridge, and the U.S. House race. In that one, Republican Congressman Greg Gianforte is facing Democratic challenger Kathleen Williams and Libertarian Eleanor Swanson. While we've already seen a record number of absentee votes cast, thousands of Montanans will be voting the old-fashioned way on Tuesday, going to the polls starting at 7 a.m. And there are still other ways you can cast your vote, even if you haven't registered yet. The time for requesting absentee ballots is past. Yet, if you're among the 100,000 voters who requested an absentee ballot and haven't turned it in, you can still do that Tuesday in person at the polls or your local county election office until 8 p.m. You also can register to vote on Tuesday, but only at the county election office. They'll give you a ballot when you register, and you can fill it out right there and turn it in. As long as you're in line at the election office door by 8 p.m., you'll be able to register and vote. In addition to the top races, voters also will decide 4 ballot measures, including big money battles over I-185, which extends Medicaid expansion and increases tobacco taxes, and I-186, which would impose new clean water regulations on new hard rock mines. And they'll choose a new Montana Supreme Court clerk and decide 2 Public Service Commission seats, 125 state, Senate, and House contests, and scores of other local offices. Candidates made their final pitch Monday, with top Democrats rallying in Missoula and Great Falls, and top Republicans joining Vice President Mike Pence in Kalispell. The message from all sides has been pretty clear for several weeks. Get out and vote.
What are you going to do? Vote! What are you going to get 3 friends to do?
Vote! We have plenty of close races, up and down the ballot and all across the state. No matter your political leanings, it's a good bet your vote can make a difference here or wherever your polling place is on Tuesday. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thank you, Mike. Polling places here in Montana will be open tomorrow from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Senator Jon Tester, along with Democratic House candidate Kathleen Williams in Black Eagle near Great Falls tonight for one final Get Out the Vote rally. The pair there joined by Governor Steve Bullock along with Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney. Tonight's speeches touching on the familiar Democratic themes of health care, public lands, accessible voting, and more. Senator Tester will be holding his election night party tomorrow in Great Falls. We will have, of course, complete election night coverage for you beginning at 9 o'clock here on the CW. Well, the weather was cold in the Flathead today, but for some Republicans, the fervor over this year's midterm elections has anything but cooled off. Several hundred people turning out in Kalispell today to see Vice President Mike Pence. MTN's Dennis Bragg reports now from Kalispell.
The topics at this last-minute rally, exactly what we expected to hear: immigration reform, economic growth, and control of the U.S. Supreme Court. Pence was making an 11th-hour stop to give one final shot in the arm to GOP hopes of electing Matt Rosendale to the U.S. Senate and Representative Greg Gianforte a full term in the House. There were no early morning lineups here, and while many of these people say they've already voted, they're interested in seeing the vice president and making a show of support for the GOP ticket. With GOP stars like Senators Lindsey Graham and Cory Gardner joining in, both Gianforte and Rosendale made one final pitch for votes.
We're getting America back on track, and the American dream is back.
To help Steve Daines and Greg Gianforte represent the people of Montana. And that's what I'm going to do.
As with rallies across the state, fully half of the message was one of attack against Montana's senior senator, criticizing Jon Tester for supporting a liberal agenda, not supporting President Trump, and especially his nominees for the VA and Supreme Court, this time delivered once more directly from his vice president.
Matt Rosendale is a man who will stand for the conservative values of the people of this state. I think it's time to vote no on Jon Tester and vote to make Matt Rosendale the next senator from the great state of Montana.
But the Democrats have been just as busy. Both Tester and House candidate Kathleen Williams had packed schedules through the weekend and into today.
I think the reason that Matt Rosendale's bringing all these people into the state is because, quite frankly, he wants to privatize our public lands. He wants to privatize public education. He wants to kick people off health care that have pre-existing conditions. He wants more dark money into these races. He can't campaign on that stuff in Montana, or Montanans will vote for me. So he's got to just deflect and distract.
Now that the candidates have fired their closing arguments, it's up to you. We'll find out what happens when the votes are tallied Tuesday night. In Kalispell, Dennis Bragg, MTN News.
All right, thank you very much, Dennis. In other news tonight, police in Butte releasing more information now about an 11-year-old boy who's accused in a stabbing. The boy is accused of stabbing and wounding a relative, an adult male, stabbing him in the back several times last Friday night. The victim was treated and released from St. James Healthcare in Butte. The 11-year-old is now being held in a juvenile detention center in Great Falls. Also, more details coming out in an officer-involved shooting near downtown Billings Sunday afternoon that put both Billings hospitals into lockdown. So now tonight, more than 24 hours after the incident, still no one has been charged. Police are waiting for a search warrant to find out more about the 3 men involved. It all transpired around 2:30 Sunday afternoon. Billings police alerted to a burglary in progress on North 31st Street at a house that was being renovated. Police officer Brandon Lang, a 4-year member of the force, was stationed in the hospital corridor and quickly responded. He parked his car about a block away and started to walk to the area on foot. That's when the 3 men got into a car and then drove toward the officer in an alley. Lang fired his gun at the car multiple times. When the men started to run, the driver was injured and was captured, but the others escaped.
You know, at this point, what it looks like is that you have an interrupted burglary, and that you have these individuals who are driving directly at an officer, and he fires his gun to protect himself.
The driver, who suffered facial injuries, was taken to St. Vincent Healthcare in Billings, where he is remaining tonight. Police are still looking for the other men involved. There have been a few animal cruelty cases here in Montana recently, including acts against horses, cattle, and dogs. Tonight, MTN's Emma Hamilton reports on the latest case near Big Sky.
Feel violated. It's almost like somebody broke into your house.
It was a typical morning routine for Greg Hodge, which includes feeding his horses. He quickly noticed something different. His horse Ruby had a shorter tail that was clearly cut with scissors.
Most people think when they cut a tail that it's really just hair, but to a horse, it's part of their well-being and impacts their daily life.
First of all, it doesn't grow back like human hair. You know, horses need this kind of hair on their tails to swat flies, for balance, walking down trails, and it's just it's a very vital part of their makeup.
Hodge contacted the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office immediately, and they are currently looking into the case and following a few leads. Since the incident, Hodge has installed LED lights outside his home to be able to keep a closer eye on his horses at night. Trying to explain to his young children why someone would do this hasn't been the easiest.
And this is just an example of, it kind of ruins your peace of mind knowing that your animals you do your best to feed and take care of them and protect them just like you do your children and anything else. And when somebody comes and violates that trust, it's a little difficult. So going forward, I just hope people keep a little more vigilant on their animals and keep their eyes open. If they see anything, let people know.
In Big Sky, Emma Hamilton, MTN News.
And Emma reminds us anyone with information regarding this incident is urged to contact their local law enforcement. Coming up, we've covered a lot of wildfires in Montana over the years, but did you know putting out the fire is only just the beginning? That story ahead, but first, Connor Pregetzer delivers your statewide weather forecast. Is snow headed to your area? That answer straight ahead.